James Coburn was known for his cool charm and unforgettable roles, but behind the scenes, he harbored a deep hatred for Yul Brynner. For years, no one really understood why. Now we finally know the reason why, and it's a story full of betrayal, power plays, and secrets that shaped Hollywood history. Hollywood is famous for its on-screen magic, but behind the glitz, sometimes the real drama is off-camera. One story that's been whispered in the shadows for decades is the bitter feud between James Coburn and Yul Brynner, two giants of the silver screen who on paper seemed like the perfect colleagues, but in reality carried a grudge that few dared to mention publicly. It's shocking because both men were respected, even admired in their prime. Brynner, with his commanding presence and iconic roles like The King and I, was the type of actor whose name alone demanded attention. Coburn, sleek and cool, brought a different flavor to Hollywood, a rugged charm wrapped in sly humor. You'd expect two stars like this to share mutual respect, maybe even friendship. But what if I told you their relationship was anything but friendly? For years, fans and insiders only saw the polished facade, the red carpet smiles, the professional nods, the polite interviews. But the truth, as we now know, runs far deeper and darker. James Coburn utterly hated Yul Brynner, and the reasons behind this intense disdain have been hidden until recently. Why would Coburn hold such strong feelings against a fellow star? It's more than just jealousy or rivalry. It's a story laced with betrayal, broken trust, and moments that shook the very foundations of their careers. And it's not just old Hollywood gossip. New revelations and insider accounts have surfaced, revealing a shocking tale that rewrites what we thought we knew about these legends. This isn't your typical Hollywood feud, filled with petty arguments or tabloids chasing headlines. This is a clash of personalities, careers, and egos that shaped not only their own destinies but rippled through the industry. As we peel back the layers, you'll discover how fame can hide scars, how success can breed secrets, and how two men who once shared the spotlight became bitter adversaries. So buckle up, because this story doesn't just tell you who hated whom. It dives into why, how, and what the fallout meant for the people involved. And what happened next. It might just shock you. To understand why James Coburn and Yul Brynner ended up at odds, you first need to see where they came from and what made each of them tick. James Coburn wasn't your typical Hollywood star. His rise was slow and steady, built on a mix of rugged charm and a laid-back style that made him stand out in a sea of conventional leading men. Known for roles in films like The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape, Coburn brought a cool, almost effortless vibe to the screen. He wasn't flashy or theatrical, but his presence was magnetic. Audiences loved the way he could shift from calm humor to sudden intensity, making him one of the most versatile actors of his generation. Yul Brynner's path was different, and almost the opposite. Born in Russia and raised across Europe, Brynner carried an exotic air that Hollywood quickly capitalized on. His bald head and commanding voice made him instantly recognizable. But it was his legendary performance as the King in The King and I that cemented his status as a Hollywood icon. Brynner was known for his theatrical style, a kind of regal intensity that demanded respect both on and off the screen. He wasn't just an actor, he was a force of nature, larger than life in every sense. What's striking is that despite their different styles, both men shared something crucial, a hunger for success and a fierce sense of pride. Both were at the top of their game in the 1960s and 70s, carving out careers that were admired worldwide. Yet, while Brynner was often seen as aloof and unapproachable, Coburn carried a reputation for being easygoing but deeply private, someone who didn't suffer fools lightly. Hollywood loves to pit stars against each other, but with these two, it wasn't just manufactured drama. Their personalities clashed like oil and water. Brynner's commanding presence could easily overshadow others, and Coburn's subtle defiance wasn't something he hid. The tension simmered beneath the surface, unnoticed by many, but felt by those who worked closely with them. Even their professional circles barely overlapped, yet their paths crossed often enough to spark conflict. Whether it was on film sets, at industry events, or social gatherings, the two men represented very different ideas of what it meant to be a star. Brynner, the theatrical powerhouse, and Coburn, the cool outsider. This contrast set the stage for something more than rivalry. It brewed resentment that, for years, no one fully understood. It wasn't just about style or ego. It was about deeper wounds, betrayals, and moments that would ignite their feud in ways nobody expected. Next, we'll uncover the cracks beneath the surface, the public appearances versus the private battles that reveal the true tension between Coburn and Brynner. The story only gets more intense from here. On the surface, James Coburn and Yul Brynner appeared like typical Hollywood professionals, polite, cordial, even occasionally friendly in public. Interviews showed them exchanging compliments, red carpet photos caught smiles, and industry events captured moments that looked like mutual respect. But appearances can be deceiving. Beneath that glossy exterior was a simmering feud that ran much deeper than anyone expected. In an industry built on image and reputation, neither man openly acknowledged their true feelings. It wasn't the kind of rivalry that sparked headlines or tabloid wars. Instead, their hostility was quiet but potent, carrying an undercurrent of bitterness that affected how they worked and interacted behind closed doors. For Coburn, it was a grudge that never quite faded. Those who knew him well describe a simmering resentment every time Brynner's name came up. It wasn't just professional jealousy, it was personal. What made this feud so shocking is how long Coburn kept these feelings under wraps, revealing them only in private conversations and rare interviews later in life. Hollywood insiders began noticing the tension during joint appearances and award ceremonies. While others exchanged pleasantries, Coburn's body language often told a different story: cool, guarded, even cold. Some say he avoided Brynner outright whenever possible, steering clear of conversations or gatherings where Brynner would be present. Meanwhile, Brynner seemed largely indifferent, or maybe unaware, of just how much Coburn despised him. His focus was often on his work and legacy, but that didn't stop the feud from casting a shadow over their careers. The tension wasn't a public spectacle, but it was felt behind the scenes, creating an invisible divide that shaped the atmosphere around them. What's even more fascinating is that this wasn't a sudden eruption of anger. It was a slow-burning feud, built over years of interactions, misunderstandings, and perceived slights. The media's failure to dig deeper into their relationship helped keep the truth buried, fueling rumors but never confirming the real story. This hidden animosity changed how they approached their careers. Coburn, in particular, became more selective with his projects, wary of circles where Brynner's influence was strong. Brynner, on the other hand, kept pushing forward, unaware or unwilling to acknowledge that his rival was quietly building a wall of resentment. But what caused this Cold War? What happened beneath the surface to turn admiration into bitterness? That's the question everyone has asked for years, and it's the reason why Coburn's hatred runs far deeper than anyone guessed. Up next, the real reason behind Coburn's fury. The story you're about to hear will reveal a secret that changed everything between these two legends forever. The real reason behind James Coburn's bitter feelings toward Yul Brynner isn't just a simple clash of egos. It's a story tangled in betrayal, broken trust, and a moment that left a permanent scar. For years, rumors swirled, but the full truth only recently came to light, revealing a side of Hollywood few dared to talk about. It all started during the filming of a major project both were involved in, a film that was supposed to be a career milestone for Coburn. He had been handed what he believed was his big break, a leading role that would elevate his standing in Hollywood. But behind the scenes, Brynner's influence on the production ran deeper than anyone expected. Sources close to the set say Brynner, known for his commanding presence and fierce control, didn't just see Coburn as a colleague but as a threat. Rumors suggest that Brynner quietly undermined Coburn's chances, lobbying the producers and directors to limit Coburn's screen time and overshadow his performances. There were whispered talks of last-minute script changes and edits that favored Brynner, leaving Coburn's scenes reduced and diluted. Coburn, ever the professional, initially tried to ignore the tension, but as the film progressed, it became clear that something wasn't right. He confronted Brynner privately, hoping to resolve the conflict, but the conversation reportedly ended with cold dismissal and thinly veiled threats about Coburn's place in the industry. This wasn't just about a film role, it was a power move. Brynner used his status to push Coburn down, sending a clear message: "Don't challenge me." For Coburn, who had fought hard for every opportunity, this was a deep personal betrayal. What made it worse was the silence around the incident. Studios and media kept the story under wraps, fearing the fallout from exposing a star's underhanded tactics. Coburn was left frustrated, isolated, and angry, not just because of lost screen time, but because of the damage done to his reputation and career momentum. This moment marked a turning point. Coburn's simmering resentment crystallized into outright hatred. It was no longer just professional competition, it was personal. The quiet feud became a permanent rift, shaping their interactions and decisions for years to come. Adding fuel to the fire, Rumors in later years suggested Brynner was involved in spreading unflattering stories about Coburn, further muddying his reputation. Whether true or exaggerated, these whispers only hardened Coburn's stance. This story exposes a darker side of Hollywood, a world where alliances can crumble, power plays shape careers, and friendships are fragile. Coburn's bitterness wasn't just about bruised pride. It was about survival in an unforgiving industry. Next, we'll explore how this feud impacted their careers and personal lives, showing that the consequences of that moment echoed far beyond the film's set. The fallout was bigger than anyone expected. The moment the tension between James Coburn and Yul Brynner broke into open resentment wasn't just a private matter. It sent shockwaves through their careers and personal lives in ways few expected. What started as behind-the-scenes sabotage grew into a long-lasting divide, shaping opportunities, relationships, and how they were viewed in Hollywood's tightly knit circles. For Coburn, the fallout was immediate and painful. The film where Brynner allegedly undercut him became a missed turning point. Instead of skyrocketing his career, Coburn found doors closing quietly. Casting directors, producers, and even co-stars seemed to sideline him, as if Brynner's shadow loomed too large to ignore. Coburn himself admitted in later interviews that his career stalled during this period, and he suspected Brynner's influence was a key reason. But Coburn didn't disappear. He became more selective, carving out a niche for himself in roles that suited his style, often playing the cool, tough guy with a sharp edge. He leaned into television and independent films, slowly rebuilding his reputation. Still, the bitterness never left. Every mention of Brynner triggered memories of betrayal, leaving Coburn guarded and distant. Brynner, meanwhile, maintained his status but not without consequences. While he continued to be celebrated for his iconic roles and charismatic presence, the feud left cracks in his public image. Hollywood insiders whispered about his difficult personality and ruthless streak, qualities that Coburn's story helped expose more openly over time. Their feud also affected friendships and alliances. Mutual acquaintances often found themselves caught in the middle, forced to choose sides or keep silent. This created an invisible divide within Hollywood's social circles, one that lasted for years and even outlived the stars themselves. The tension spilled into their personal lives too. Coburn's close friends recall him becoming increasingly private and wary, shutting down about the feud but clearly burdened by it. Brynner's own circle noted his growing impatience and occasional sharp remarks when Coburn's name came up. It wasn't just professional rivalry anymore. It was a personal wound neither fully healed. What's remarkable is that this feud wasn't explosive or headline-grabbing but slow-burning, like a quiet war fought in whispers, veiled glances, and missed opportunities. It defined their legacy in subtle ways, reminding us that not all Hollywood drama plays out in front of cameras. But how did others in the industry react? What do their colleagues think about this silent battle between two titans? That's what we'll uncover next, revealing voices from behind the scenes that add complexity and depth to the story. Behind every great feud, there's a chorus of voices watching from the sidelines. The tension between James Coburn and Yul Brynner wasn't just their private battle. It rippled through Hollywood, leaving those who worked with him caught in a tricky middle ground. Colleagues described Coburn as someone who kept his cards close to his chest. He wasn't one to air grievances publicly, but his disdain for Brynner was no secret in private. Actors who shared sets with Coburn recall moments when his attitude shifted subtly whenever Brynner's name came up. One close friend revealed that Coburn's dislike wasn't born from petty jealousy, but from feeling deeply betrayed, a wound that never truly healed. On the other side, Brynner's reputation as a commanding and sometimes difficult personality was well known. Some insiders say he had a take-no-prisoners approach, especially with actors he saw as competition. Directors who worked with Brynner described him as intensely focused, but occasionally ruthless if he thought his status was threatened. This painted a picture of a man who could be both charismatic and cold, depending on the situation. Interestingly, not everyone took sides. Some Hollywood veterans tried to downplay the feud, suggesting it was exaggerated or blown out of proportion. Yet, even those diplomats admitted there was a tense energy whenever Coburn and Brynner crossed paths. One producer mentioned that while neither man openly confronted the other on set, their silent standoff was palpable. Behind the scenes, rumors circulated about the root causes of the hatred. Some whisper about professional sabotage, others about personal slights or broken promises. But what united these stories was a sense of tragedy, two stars whose talents could have aligned but instead became locked in bitter rivalry. Even years after their prime, Actors and crew who witnessed the tension share that it influenced the mood on set and sometimes the creative process. Some suggested the feud subtly shaped casting choices and production decisions, underscoring how personal conflicts could ripple far beyond private conversations. What makes this even more fascinating is the conflicting nature of these accounts. While Coburn's camp painted Brynner as manipulative, some Brynner loyalists viewed Coburn as overly sensitive and unwilling to accept Hollywood's harsh realities. This clash of perspectives adds layers to the story. Nothing is as black and white as it seems. These insider voices don't just tell us who hated whom. They reveal a complex dynamic fueled by pride, fear, and the brutal realities of show business. The feud became a mirror reflecting not just two men's struggles, but the harshness of an industry that rewards success but punishes perceived weakness. Next, we'll explore the untold aftermath. Did Coburn and Brynner ever try to reconcile, or did their rivalry deepen until the end? The answer may surprise you. As time went on, one might expect that age, experience, or common sense would soften the bitter feud between James Coburn and Yul Brynner. But in reality, their rivalry lingered like a shadow neither could fully shake. Instead of fading, it simmered quietly beneath the surface until the very end of their careers. Coburn, known for his calm and easygoing persona, never publicly softened his stance. He rarely spoke about Brynner directly, but when he did, his words carried a sharp edge, revealing the depth of his lingering resentment. Close friends and biographers noted that Coburn's feelings didn't mellow with time. If anything, the sense of betrayal grew stronger, fueled by years of missed chances and industry politics. Brynner, for his part, remained focused on his legacy and continued to command respect for his iconic roles. Publicly, he maintained professionalism, never engaging in public spats. Yet, those who knew him well said that beneath the polished exterior was a man sensitive to challenges against his authority. It's unclear if Brynner ever fully grasped just how deep Coburn's animosity ran. Despite the tension, there were rare moments when the two crossed paths without incident. Some speculate that a silent truce existed, more out of mutual exhaustion than forgiveness. Neither man seemed interested in reigniting the feud openly, but the cold distance never thawed. Interestingly, some insiders reveal that in their final years, both men reflected privately on their rivalry. Coburn reportedly expressed regret for letting bitterness define part of his life, while Brynner allegedly wished they had found a way to bridge the gap. But any chance for reconciliation was complicated by pride and the weight of decades of history. Their feud became less about who was right or wrong, and more about the human cost of unresolved anger. It serves as a reminder that behind the fame and glamour, personal conflicts can leave lasting scars. In Hollywood, where relationships can make or break careers, the Coburn-Brynner story is a cautionary tale. Two stars with immense talent, torn apart not by public fights but by quiet, unspoken wounds. In the end, neither fully won. The feud shadowed their legacies, coloring how fans and historians view them even today. Next, we'll dive into some of the surprising rumors and controversies that kept the story alive long after their prime, adding layers to this complicated rivalry. Even decades after their careers peaked, whispers about James Coburn and Yul Brynner's feud refused to fade. Hollywood loves a good story, and theirs was no exception. A rivalry filled with intrigue, backstabbing, and unanswered questions that kept fans and insiders talking for years. One of the most persistent rumors involved a mysterious lost project that both men were said to have competed over. According to industry whispers, this was a high-profile film opportunity that Brynner allegedly maneuvered to claim exclusively, effectively shutting Coburn out. While the project itself was never confirmed, the story spread widely enough to fuel speculation about Brynner's behind-the-scenes influence. Another controversy surfaced around alleged character attacks. Sources hinted that Brynner might have contributed to spreading negative stories about Coburn in Hollywood circles, subtly damaging his reputation. Whether through gossip or insinuation, these attacks intensified the divide, leaving Coburn isolated at a time when allies mattered most. On the flip side, some say Coburn wasn't entirely innocent. A few insiders suggested that Coburn's own stubbornness and refusal to play Hollywood's political games made him vulnerable, and that Brynner's tough tactics were simply part of survival in a cutthroat industry. Beyond professional rivalries, rumors hinted at personal tensions, moments when egos clashed publicly during industry parties or award ceremonies. Though no direct confrontations were ever confirmed, eyewitnesses recall cold exchanges, icy stares, and an unmistakable chill when the two were in the same room. These persistent rumors helped keep the story alive, adding layers of mystery that made fans question what really happened behind closed doors. Was Brynner the mastermind behind Coburn's struggles? Or was Coburn the principled underdog fighting against a ruthless system? While some stories remain unverified, the fact they circulated so widely speaks to how powerful the feud was and how much it captivated those watching from the sidelines. In the end, these controversies added a dark, almost legendary aura to the rivalry, making it more than just two actors clashing, but a symbol of the brutal realities of Hollywood ambition. Coming up next, how this feud has shaped their legacies today and what modern audiences can learn from their story. Years after James Coburn and Yul Brynner left the stage, their feud continues to cast a long shadow over how fans and historians view their lives and careers. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars aren't immune to the human flaws that shape us all. For Coburn, the feud is often seen as a defining chapter, one that adds complexity to a career otherwise celebrated for cool charisma and versatility. His quiet bitterness reveals the toll that Hollywood politics and personal betrayal can take on a performer's spirit. Fans who admire his work also see a man who fought not just for roles, but for respect and fairness in a harsh industry. Brynner's legacy is similarly complicated. Known for iconic roles that shape Hollywood's golden age, his talent and presence are unquestioned. But the feud exposes a less flattering side, a man willing to protect his turf at any cost. This duality challenges the often sanitized stories told about classic stars, reminding us that fame and power come with messy human stories behind the scenes. Beyond their personal histories, their rivalry highlights the broader realities of Hollywood, the fierce competition, the fragile alliances, and the price of ambition. It shows how conflicts can shape careers in ways fans rarely see, influencing who rises and who falls. For modern audiences, the Coburn-Brynner story is a cautionary tale. It speaks to the dangers of letting grudges fester and the importance of transparency and forgiveness. It also sheds light on the pressures actors face behind a glamour, offering a more human perspective on stardom. In today's age of social media and instant exposure, the feud reminds us how much quieter and more insidious rivalries could be in the past, and how they still resonate now. Ultimately, their story isn't just about hate or competition. It's about two talented men navigating a brutal industry, each trying to claim their place while wrestling with personal pain and professional setbacks. As we look back, it's clear that their feud added a layer of drama that went beyond the screen, shaping Hollywood's history in subtle but powerful ways. Next up, the final section will tie everything together, leaving you with a thought-provoking conclusion on fame, rivalry, and legacy. The story of James Coburn and Yul Brynner isn't just a tale of two Hollywood stars who couldn't stand each other. It's a reflection of what fame can do to even the most talented and charismatic individuals. Their feud, hidden beneath polite smiles and public appearances, reveals the darker side of ambition and the personal costs that come with it. Both men were giants in their own right, but their rivalry shows how quickly respect can turn to resentment when trust is broken and egos clash. It reminds us that behind every iconic performance lies a human being vulnerable to the same emotions we all face: hurt, jealousy, and disappointment. The feud's slow burn, kept mostly private yet deeply felt, illustrates how unresolved conflicts can quietly shape lives and legacies. It's a stark contrast to the flashy headlines of today's celebrity dramas, but no less impactful. For fans, this story adds nuance to the way we see Coburn and Brynner, not just as stars frozen in time, but as complex individuals shaped by their struggles. It challenges the idea that fame is purely glamorous, highlighting the real emotional battles happening behind the scenes. Looking beyond Hollywood, their story offers a universal lesson about the importance of communication, forgiveness, and humility. Holding on to grudges can limit growth and happiness, while reconciliation, even if difficult, can heal wounds and free us from past pain. In the end, James Coburn and Yul Brynner's feud is a reminder that beneath the glitz and glamour, the true drama often unfolds in the spaces between the cameras, quiet, complicated, and deeply human. So next time you watch a classic film starring either of these legends, remember there's more to their story than the roles they played. There's a hidden narrative of rivalry, ambition, and the harsh realities of chasing fame in an unforgiving world. And maybe, just maybe, understanding that story makes us appreciate not just their talent, but their resilience. That's the untold story behind James Coburn's deep hatred for Yul Brynner, one filled with hidden rivalries and Hollywood secrets. If you found this video eye-opening, be sure to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories from behind the scenes of your favorite stars. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.